I say this to people all the time. You are most likely to hear the things that you most need to hear from a person you would least like to hear it from. And I think about that all the time now, like bosses I didn't like, and people like that, and even though I very believe I'm very different from some of those bosses, I still heard things from them that I have stuck with me and needed to stick with me. Um, you know, I think young leaders. I do this. I have this conversation when I do some of the workshops and stuff I've been asked to do at the newspaper for Cox. Um, by the time you get to your first leadership job, your first frontline manager job, you have reached the point of almost zero good feedback from anyone. you know, and here's what I mean. I'll do this little exercise where I'll take two people in a group, when we're having this conversation who I know each other, and I'll say, hey, Keith, tell Kevin just one thing, one really simple thing. I know you guys are friends that he could do that would be better than what he's doing now or would improve, just it could be anything, personal, professional, the way he dresses, anything. And people cannot do it. And I'll always say, you see what I mean? Like, this is a safe environment. You guys are friends. It's a simple thing. And you can't quite, because it's just so hard to tell someone something they don't want to hear, like, hey, Kevin, really get a better haircut. um and I point that out because if you have someone, and I don't care who it is, it could be your spouse, could be a brother, could be a coworker, could be your priest, it could be anybody who is willing to come to you and say, you're screwing this up, or you're not doing a good job. You know what the first words out of your mouth have got to be? Thank you. Thank you. Especially if that person's a subordinate, because the first time a leader reacts poorly, the signal's there. Don't tell him anything he doesn't want to hear. You know what I mean? We know that guy, right? We all know that person. And it is so hard in that moment because, back to your point about facing difficulty or challenge, who the heck wants to hear anything bad about themselves? I mean, you're not human. Anyone who says, "Oh, I like, good, strong feedback about how I can improve," that's BS. No one likes that unless they're not
Yeah.
human. But if you can weather the storm, and in that moment where you feel like I'm going to argue, like you kind of come out of your chair a little bit, you're going to argue with this person because they're not seeing it the way they should. But instead, if you can stop yourself and say, "Keith, thank you, man. I'm sure it was hard for you to come in here and say that. Let's talk a little bit more, or give me some time to think about it, and I'm going to come back." If you have a bad temper like me, you have a little trouble controlling, your anger when someone tells you those three things. If you can find someone who actually tell you stuff you want to hear, that's like so precious. It's unbelievably precious.